a Manchester derby. Really looking forward to this game from a Manchester United point of view. Certainly the positive press conferences, everyone saying the right things. Rashford picking up awards domestically and in-house at Manchester United, saying the right things that they want to finish off this season in style. The only problem is they're playing Manchester City. How's your overall outlook of this final?
Well, I mean, we do have to remember that the last time these two teams played, I mean, I wasn't here, but I think if I had been here, I would have said something like what I normally say about Manchester City. And I'm usually very right on, in spite of some of our complainants on Twitter and in the comments, that Man City are the much better team and will win. That's what I would have said, but they didn't. I don't know how much we can learn, though, from that 2-1 win for United in January. I mean, I'm looking at the teams now. You've got João Cancelo playing at left back. Ake and Akanji, both still key parts of Guardiola's plans, but that move to the almost the 4 centre-backs, even if Kyle Walker plays, he's basically a centre-back, has really strengthened City, specifically, I think, for teams against United that really embrace wing play, counter-attacking. I went back and watched, I think there was about 8-9 shots that United had. So many of them came from these rapid transitions where Cancelo is miles forward. There's no one covering, and Fernandes or Rashford or whoever it might be is able to just get in a 3v2, 3v3 situation. I can't see that happening. We also have to say, it sounds like Antony will be fit, but no Anthony Martial. I don't know that many United fans will be devastated. But, you know, this United team's struggling a bit with injuries. Of course, you know, the likes of Martinez as well and Sabitzer. There won't be game changers off the bench. By all accounts, City have a fully fit squad. You know, the likes of Grealish and Ruben Dias, I think, didn't travel to Brentford. They were all been training this week. So this is sort of City at the peak of their powers. I don't need to say it anymore, do I? You all know what I think about City.
Of course.
But you're underestimating the fact that United have that historical motivation. They have this opportunity to stop City in their tracks, to make sure that they don't equal the achievements of the 1999, the class of 99, sorry. So I do think that that's something that shouldn't necessarily be downplayed. Whether it's enough for United to go and beat City, I have my doubts, serious doubts. But equally, I think we've seen Man United produce some unexpected performances at times over the course of the season. Some unexpectedly good, some unexpectedly bad. Whether or not, they produce one of those unexpectedly good days here against City, it would suggest that they have the motivation for it. But, like James said, this is almost a full strength City side, who will be eyeing this final as, sort of the dress rehearsal really for the Champions League final. I'm not a big fan of that term, but, basically it's sort of the warm up before the big one. And they know that, if they get this done, it's 2 out of 3 on the board already. And then it's just Inter who stand between them and that slice of history.
Wasn't it similar to United when they did it back in 99? Maybe both of you can remind me. Was it Newcastle that they played in the FA Cup final?
2-0.
Yeah, and it was a crap game as well, wasn't it? It wasn't a great game, and it was a lackluster performance, and you thought, oh my God, they're going to get absolutely hammered in this Champions League final. And then crazy things happen, but football is
one of them
crazy.
You have to grind. Always one of them, I think, if whether it's even in other leagues, there's one of those 3 that you just grind out playing ugly football. I have a feeling that's more likely to be the Inter game, and I think there'll be an emotional tiredness. I feel like City are going to go into this and say, statement game. Who knows how many fans will make it down? Like, we should just point out this is going to be an absolutely chaotic final. Train strikes. London is going to come to a bit of a standstill. There's a Beyonce concert at the other end of town, which is where I will be, because why wouldn't you? It's going to be, and I do wonder, to what extent this whole game will feel quite discombobulated. And huge kudos to any people that make it down from Manchester for this. But I think this is, in a way, I think that there might be sort of a little bit of extra motivation beyond even the Champions League final to just put United back in their place.
Listen, it's a great opportunity, obviously, for Manchester United to stop City from doing what JJ pointed out, to go on and completing that treble, to be the first team to do it from the UK, obviously, since 1999. But what I would say as a United fan is that I just want to see United play well, play a good game. It might be too too little for what Manchester City bring. But if you put out a good half, and let's say you have an advantage in the game, you're leading in this game, the problem you've got with Manchester City is that they can rotate in so many different directions, and in 20 minutes, they can put the game to bed. So my biggest problem is, can you get a full 90 minutes from Manchester United against this Manchester City? The answer is probably no. And what City do in their period of time in the game, whether it be 20, 30, 45, 90 minutes, how good they are in those periods of time and how many goals they score, that's the problem I have. You have no idea. City could turn up and score 4, 5 against United on their day. It's simply said. You can't, even as a United fan, and my father, he obviously grew up in Salford as a United fan as well. I can't get him to shut up talking about Manchester City. He watches every game. He just admires good football, and he admires a genius like Pep Guardiola and the way he's manipulated. Obviously, getting the best of these players is something unique and special. But it's hard not to admire when City are at their best. I think we can all agree that, James, you obviously saw it firsthand as well in the Premier League this season. When City are at their best, it's freaking beautiful to watch.
It is a joy. It's like an unanswerable question for the opponents because they'll beat you any way they need to. You know, this lad they've got up front is quite good. And suddenly they can play like Wimbledon-style long ball football out of the 80s to go with their gorgeous interplay getting to the byline. Just one stat as well to mention, and this just reminds you of how peerless some of their achievements are. No team has won the FA Cup keeping clean sheets in every game since 1903. And they are on course to do that, City. And
wow.
I fancy that they will. Because it's not just Haaland or De Bruyne, it's this phenomenal defense. And yes, I know the ties got slightly easier as they went on, but they did also knock out Chelsea before they were managed by Frank Lampard and Arsenal to get this far.
Wow.
I mean, I think it's, I mean, okay, it is a bit of fun, but equally, surely City would rather win the Champions League than the FA Cup just this once. I mean, I think if you really gave them and said, right, you can really only have one or the other, I'm sure that they would choose to finally end the Champions League drought. And I honestly...
JJ, hold on. I'm going to stop you right now. Let me ask you this. Would Manchester City prefer to win the Champions League or the Premier League?
I mean, you could have the same argument as well. I mean, especially this season when they've been run so close by Arsenal right up until the end. You could maybe say that, they might have said, well, we'll take the hit in the Premier League. We'd love to beat United in a cup final and then win the Champions League. But they've already done the Premier League part. I mean, I can understand the rivalry aspect and getting motivated for that. And I'm sure that, it will be massive motivation for them. I find it difficult to imagine sort of what it's like to see your most bitter rivals playing phenomenal football when Birmingham City haven't ever sort of risen to a level like that over Villa, although there were some very bleak years for Villa where Blues were slightly enjoying the upper hand over us. But I mean, for me, I think City, this is surely all going to be about the Champions League final. I'm not saying that they will sort of downplay, potentially losing the FA Cup to United if that were to happen. But for me, I think that City's absolute priority is to win the Champions League to get that over the line.
I definitely think that's true of the club, 100%. I wonder what fans feel because obviously, as you kind of alluded to there, JJ, I mean, there's nothing worse than losing a major final to one of your biggest rivals. And as we know, I mean, it's that strange thing with UEFA where City fans despise UEFA, and I don't think that's changed at all or will ever change. And yet, if you hate an organization like UEFA, there's probably something extra satisfying about going and winning their trophy. But I do think, I mean, City as a whole club, it's been all about the Champions League for so long. I think Guardiola would even acknowledge that nowadays. The fans, though, I think they're a bit more 50-50.
Let me ask you both this question. James, I'll go to you first on this one. Who has the better chance of beating Manchester City? Is it Manchester United in the FA Cup or is it Inter in the Champions League final?
That sounds like it's been sent by Mike Lahoud.
Yeah, and you know that there are certain people out there. I believe there's a guy called the Calcio guy on Twitter who will absolutely rage at what I'm about to say, but it's definitely Manchester United who are better than Inter. As good a team as Inter Milan are, I think it's Manchester United. I think they're just a team that's more well constructed with their counter-attacking football with players like Rashford to just stun City. So yeah, take that, Calcio guy.
JJ?
I'd have to go for United. I mean, I have tried to see a bit of logic in what Mike Lahoud has been saying about Inter these past few weeks. I'm still struggling to do so, but I mean, it's a cup final. Anything can happen sort of over those 90 minutes. We didn't think that England would lose the Euro final at home to Italy at Wembley, but they did. So stranger things have happened, but if I had to pick one, just, on paper, United, I think, have the better chance of causing an upset. And they have the motivation as well. That, for me, counts, because I'm not saying that being in a Champions League final is going to be less motivating for Inter than an FA Cup final against the old rivals for United. But, I mean, it's literally it's their final play this season. Inter have already got silverware on the board unexpectedly in the Coppa Italia. So, I think for me, it's got to be United. They have both the squad and the motivation to do so.